There is a moment in life when the body starts sending quiet signals. A little more fatigue than usual, joints that ache without reason, a memory that takes a second longer to recall a name. Most people assume this is simply age doing its work. But what if you were told that some of the most powerful medicine on earth has been sitting in your fruit bowl this whole time, completely ignored? Not in a pharmacy, not in an expensive supplement bottle, right there, in something as ordinary and ancient as fruit. If you're over 70 or you love someone who is, you need to stop what you are doing and pay very close attention to what comes next, because this could genuinely change the trajectory of the years ahead. Before we get into the five fruits themselves, let's talk about something that almost no one discusses. Longevity is not just about living longer, it's about living well. Scientists who study the world's so-called blue zones, the regions where people routinely live past 100 in remarkable health, have noticed something consistent. These communities don't count calories or take a dozen supplements. They eat real, whole, deeply colorful foods, and fruit plays a central role in their daily lives. The idea that fruit is just a sweet snack is one of the most misleading assumptions in modern health culture. Certain fruits contain compounds so complex and biologically active that researchers are still struggling to fully understand how they work inside the human body. Now here's where things get genuinely fascinating. After the age of 70, the human body undergoes what scientists call inflammaging, a slow, low-grade chronic inflammation that quietly accelerates the breakdown of cells, weakens the immune system, damages blood vessels, and clouds cognitive function. It is one of the leading hidden drivers of the diseases we associate with old age: heart disease, dementia, joint degeneration, even certain cancers. The extraordinary thing is that specific fruits contain natural compounds that directly interrupt this process at the cellular level. They are not magic, they are science. And the five fruits in this description are among the most well-studied in the world for exactly this reason. Subscribe, save this page, or share it with someone you care about right now, because the information ahead is the kind that quietly changes habits, and change habits are what change lives. Let's begin with the first fruit, and it's one that almost everyone underestimates: the blueberry. Small, unassuming, often eaten without a second thought. But here's what's happening inside your body when you eat a handful of blueberries. They contain some of the highest concentrations of anthocyanins found in any food on the planet. Pigments that don't just give the berry its deep blue color, but actively cross the blood-brain barrier and reduce oxidative stress in neural tissue. A landmark study from Harvard's Brigham and Women's Hospital tracked thousands of older women for years and found that those who consumed blueberries regularly had brains that appeared to be up to 2.5 years younger than those who didn't. That's not a small number. That is the difference between a person who forgets where they put their keys and a person who still drives, reads, travels, and engages fully with life at 85. The second fruit on this list will surprise most people, and that reaction itself is revealing. Pomegranate. Not the juice from a store shelf full of sugar, the actual fruit, the seeds, the ruby red arils that stain your fingers when you break one open. Pomegranate contains a compound called urolithin A, which is produced when gut bacteria process a specific antioxidant in the fruit. And here is the remarkable part. Urolithin A has been shown in clinical research to trigger a process called mitophagy, essentially the cleaning and recycling of damaged mitochondria inside your muscle cells. As you age, your mitochondria, the tiny powerhouses that generate energy in every cell of your body, begin to accumulate damage. That damage is one reason older adults feel fatigued more easily, lose muscle mass, and recover more slowly. Pomegranate, through this chain reaction in the gut, may actually slow this process. Researchers at the University of Washington and École Polytechnique in Switzerland have described urolithin A as one of the most promising natural molecules for healthy aging discovered in recent years. The third fruit is one you almost certainly ate as a child and may have stopped eating as an adult because somehow it became associated with being old-fashioned. Figs. Dried or fresh, figs are extraordinary. They are one of the richest plant sources of calcium, more per serving than most dairy products, which matters deeply after 70 when bone density becomes a critical issue. But beyond bone health, figs contain a rare combination of soluble fiber, prebiotics, and polyphenols that feed the gut microbiome in ways that few foods can. And the gut is not just a digestive organ. Science now understands it as a central hub of immunity, mood regulation, and even cognitive function. Older adults who struggle with constipation, bloating, poor immune response, or even mild depression may be experiencing signals of a disrupted microbiome. Figs eaten daily begin to rebuild that internal ecosystem with a consistency that is hard to replicate otherwise. If you are still reading this, you already know that what you are discovering here is not the usual generic advice. Share this with your family. Send it to a parent, a grandparent, a friend who cares about their health. Because the fourth fruit on this list is one that most doctors don't talk about. And yet the evidence behind it is stunning. Papaya, specifically ripe papaya consumed with its seeds. Papaya contains papain, a proteolytic enzyme that breaks down proteins with remarkable efficiency, reducing the burden on the digestive system and decreasing systemic inflammation. But what makes papaya extraordinary for people over 70 is its concentration of lycopene, even higher than tomatoes in certain varieties, combined with beta-cryptoxanthin, a carotenoid that has been linked in multiple studies to reduced risk of arthritis and joint inflammation. A study published in the Annals of the Rheumatic Diseases found that individuals with the highest dietary intake of beta-cryptoxanthin had a 40% lower risk of developing inflammatory polyarthritis compared to those with the lowest intake. After 70, joint mobility is not a luxury. It is the difference between independence and dependence. The fifth and final fruit is perhaps the most controversial on this list, simply because it defies what most people think of as healthy fruit. Avocado. Yes, botanically, unmistakably, a fruit, and one of the most nutrient-dense foods that exists in nature. A single avocado contains 20 different vitamins and minerals, along with a type of fat called oleic acid, the same fat found in olive oil, that has been shown to reduce LDL cholesterol, lower blood pressure, and decrease arterial inflammation. For seniors over 70, arterial health is existential. Cardiovascular disease remains the leading cause of death in this age group, and much of that risk comes not from cholesterol itself, but from inflamed, stiffening arteries that lose their elasticity over time. Avocado, eaten daily, provides the raw materials the body needs to maintain that flexibility. And there's one more layer to this story. Avocado significantly increases the bioavailability of fat-soluble nutrients from other foods eaten in the same meal. That means the lycopene from your papaya, the antioxidants from your blueberries, the polyphenols from your pomegranate, all of them are absorbed more efficiently when avocado is present. It is, in the most literal sense, a multiplier fruit. Now let's step back and look at what happens when these 5 fruits are consumed together with consistency. Not once a week, not occasionally, but daily. The research on dietary patterns, as opposed to individual foods, is where the most compelling longevity data lives. The Mediterranean diet and Mind diet, both of which have produced extraordinary results in extending healthy lifespan, are not single-ingredient interventions. They work because the combination of anti-inflammatory, neuroprotective, gut-supporting, and cardiovascular protective foods creates a synergy that no individual supplement can replicate. The 5 fruits in this description represent 5 different mechanisms of protection, 5 different biological pathways that decline with age, and 5 daily opportunities to push back against that decline in a way that is affordable, accessible, and genuinely enjoyable. There is something deeply human about the fact that the answers to some of our most urgent health questions are not locked inside a laboratory or available only to the wealthy. They are ancient. Pomegranate trees have been growing in the Middle East for thousands of years. Figs fed civilizations. Blueberries grew wild across North America long before anyone thought to study them. The body already knows how to respond to these foods. It was designed to. What changes after 70 is not the body's desire to heal, but the urgency with which we must support that process. Every single day becomes an opportunity to either accelerate decline or slow it down. That choice, remarkably, happens in large part at the dinner table. One final thought before you go. Longevity research consistently finds that people who live the longest don't just eat differently, they think differently about aging. They refuse to accept deterioration as inevitable. They remain curious. They stay connected to life, to people, to purpose. The decision to eat a pomegranate today instead of something processed and empty is not just a nutritional decision, it is a declaration. It is a small but real act of choosing more years, more clarity, more energy, more presence with the people who matter most. If this description opens something in you, a question, a motivation, a sense that there is more you can do, act on that feeling right now. Look up these 5 fruits. Add one to your next grocery list. Give this to someone who needs it, because the years after 70 are not a footnote to a life. For many people, they are the richest, most reflective, most meaningful chapter of all, and they deserve to be lived in full.